Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of EDiscovery After Hours. My guest today is Lenor Marquis Segal from ABB. She is a riot. You're going to love this conversation. We talked about her transition from a carnivorous diet to vegetarianism, to what her last holdout is for veganism. We talked about parenthood. We talked about LinkedIn. We went down a few different rabbit holes. We found out that she is, but then isn't a zoologist. You'll have to listen for that one. Just a great conversation. I hope you enjoy it. Today's sponsor is Discovery Master. Discovery Master presents automated reporting for QC statistics, budgets, key documents, completion deadlines. For any document review that you have in Relativity, no matter where the data is hosted, you can see everything with one login. Check out www.discoverymaster.co. Thanks.
Quick time!
You don't know how to drink, your whole generation.
Drinks on the house.
Yes, sir.
No, wait a second. Drinks are 50% off.
Right.
No, wait a second. Double the price of everything.
And I work only 16 hours a day.
A union man only works 8 hours a day.
I belong to 2 unions.
And now, EDiscovery After Hours with your host, Ryan Short.
All right, Lenor, thanks for coming on. Thank you for joining me. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for having me. I have my almond milk right here.
It's hidden by your beautiful tile background.
It does. That's Alma Thomas. But yes, it does disappear the almond milk, unfortunately. I even brought, so I could show, well, that's totally disappearing.
Right in front of the face. That's the only option.
Yes. So, yeah, okay. So there's my almond milk. And this is the actual carton. So
Good.
There you go.
Good. I got the right stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to bring a little non-alcoholic, plant-based beverage to your program, change it up a little bit.
My wife is very grateful to you for that. Yeah. She's she'll be 8 months pregnant and running like 3 miles in the morning. And I'm like, can we watch another episode of Schitt's Creek, please? Like that would be, oh my goodness. Well, so, all right. Let's start at the beginning here. Why are we drinking almond milk? Are you a teetotaler? Are you a health enthusiast? This is the first request. And I was so taken aback and so joyful. I was like, absolutely. By the way, you also offered if I could doctor my almond milk.
I did. I said you could.
I didn't even Google what that could possibly go with. I was thinking like an eggnog-ish kind of thing.
Or like a White Russian or so. I mean, you could go in a lot of directions with it, right? It's,
Okay. Fair.
A polar bear or something. I could see some drinks with the almond milk, but yeah, so I don't drink.
Okay.
Which can be kind of awkward actually in the work world because people want you to drink. Even though like working, drinking at a work event is like the worst idea ever. But then the peer pressure starts. Well, do you want a drink? Are you having a drink? What are you drinking? And then, so I used to do the thing a lot where I would get like a cran orange because it kind of looks like I have a fun, exciting drink that no one else. It's just the 2 juices that the bartender always has. But then at some point I was like, forget it. I'm getting Shirley Temples. And people are even more jealous then because I've got all the cherries and they're like, oh, that's such a good idea. Why didn't I get a Shirley Temple? And, so. And
you're always super well hydrated. So, when everybody else is winding down, you're just like, let's go for a jog. Come on. It'll be fine.
Yeah, no. So, yeah. So I think it's hard too, because especially for women, and you mentioned your wife, because if you don't drink at some event, people are like, oh, well, maybe she's, what? And it's like, you shouldn't have to go around being like, I'm just not drinking tonight. It's like, let's stop looking at my, my lunch burrito here. Like, no, I'm just not having a drink.
Yeah.
So, it can be hard sometimes to be, different people have different reasons for it. Obviously, there's people who have religious reasons for it. There's also people who, they've been through something. They purposely stopped drinking. They've made a journey. It's an accomplishment, but they don't necessarily want to talk about it at a work event. So, so I try to be very supportive of other people who are like, I'm just going to have a water, or I'm going to do the crayon orange thing. Or, I always throw out the suggestion in the Shirley Temples because, who doesn't want to be at a 1989 bar mitzvah at all times? I mean, this is my dream. So, I get the Shirley Temple.
I love it. So do you, okay. I as I have gotten older, I've encountered people who either, grew up in a household where there was, some backstory, to varying degrees of color, or, their own struggles, et cetera, as you said. So, I was the kid, you're an undergrad or you're right out of school, you're whatever. It's like, come on, like just have one, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then you get older and like, your eyes are open to the ways of the world and the fact that like your journey is not the only journey and your background's not the only background. And then you're like, wow, I was unwittingly a total jerk to a decent number of people. So, So anyway, so kudos to you. Stay strong. You do you.
I'm going to do me. Yeah. I'm too old not to do me at this point. Like at this point, I'm not like, there's no one left to impress. No one was impressed anyway. But
well, I mean, come on.
I'm going to just be me now. And I agree. Like, you don't know anybody's history. Everybody pretty much at least in like the work environments that we probably travel in, everybody pulls their stuff together to be presentable in front of you, but you never know what like they are going through in their real lives, or what, like you said, what happened to them in their childhood, or what their upbringing was like. I mean, how did they get here? You don't know that. So, I think we have to be respectful of each other's choices and beverages. So, and then the almond part is I've really this year been trying to go plant-based. So I'm a vegetarian who wants to be vegan, which is like a really kind of funny place to be. Whereas like my 6-year-old, it like wants to be a vegan who eats chicken wings. So that's like a different kind of vegan. Yeah. But, and bacon, of course. But so I've been trying to make this journey to be more and more. I've given up the cheese and the ice cream, which are the things I didn't think I could do.
I was going to say, I would have guessed that cheese or ice cream would have been the thing that you'd said, that's the hardest. So what? All right, let's get to it. What is it?
All right. And the milk, I've obviously moved on from, right? Yeah. Here, it's egg.
Really?
Egg is so hard.
Like egg white or egg yolk, or eggs in recipes for like breads, or what?
Yeah. So the egg yolk I've gotten away from. It's, and clinging to the egg white and not really trying to be good about it. But so many recipes call for egg of some kind. And I know you can do an egg substitute and that type of thing, but especially awkward is when someone else has made something and you're like, well, okay, what does it have in it? And they're like, oh, egg.
Oops. And then you're doing the little awkward turtle thing and So is there anything that precipitated your desire to become a vegetarian now, to potentially become a vegan? Is this like you're just trying to climb the next mountain? Was there health concerns, or was this like a dare? Somebody's like, you can't do it because you were like the biggest. You were like a hunter, and they're like, I bet you can't give up hunting, Lenor. And you're like, watch me, I'll go all the way.
Right. No, so the vegetarian thing was, I did that when I was 15. Okay. So, 100 years ago, out on the prairie, I decided that I was going to be vegetarian. And which was kind of fun deciding that, in the 90s in Wisconsin, it was a great idea. And I was like, there's nothing I can eat now. But you were close to Madison,
if my Googling is correct. So you were on the verge, right? Of like, there's my people. I can almost see them over there.
No, so I mostly grew up outside of Milwaukee. So I was a little farther away from, the Madison scene. But yeah, I mean, there just was not, there was not a lot for, no, I grew up very much in a meat and potatoes family, and like the vegetable was the buttered bread. So, there was very, it's that part of the, well, you're there. It's the part of the Midwest that where a salad means Jello. Like, so it's just not, it was challenging.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of growth opportunities there. I don't know. Are we supposed to say that things were bad? But so then I was vegetarian for a long time.
Yeah.
Then this past year, I just, for all the different reasons, I was like, all right, I need to just do this. And for health reasons, for environmental reasons, for social justice reasons, for all the reasons, I need to make that leap. I can do it. I know I can. And then, so for me, the last hurdle is eggs. And, so I'm confessing that here today, that I've not entirely given up eggs.
Okay.
So.
You are on the record. And when this episode drops, like 4-ish weeks from now, I'll check back and see if I need to make an addendum in the show notes.
Okay.
Lenor is 3 weeks egg free.
I'm not sure if I'm ready to commit that, but no, it is hard. Yeah. That part is hard. And, and I don't know if I'll get all the way to the no honey vegan.
I didn't even think about that because it's a byproduct, but then so is cheese. And so it's no animal products at all, regardless of whether they're harmed or.
Well, and there's all sorts of arguments about, are bees harmed or, whatever. Yeah. But there's, so I don't know if I can go that far, but
I won't lose any respect for you if you keep using honey. Okay.
See, but you're not the one who's going to be, so no matter where you are on the spectrum, someone is judging you, right? Like,
oh yeah. If
you're vegetarian, then the vegans and the omnivores are looking at you like, what? That, so I'm in the fake zone, right? Where vegans are like, okay, nice thing. You're pretending to be on the right side of history. Yeah. And meat eaters are like, you're crazy. Salami is delicious. So I can't win. So,
I can relate to you because I'm one of the few true moderates left in America. So all of my friends on the right think I'm a socialist, and all my friends on the left think I'm a foaming at the mouth conservative.
Right.
And then me and the other 4 moderates in America, find each other and an Applebee's occasionally. I don't know. I haven't been doing Applebee's probably since the 90s, but that just felt like an appropriate thing to say for a moderate. But yes, I know what it's like to be like, where are my people? All these people are. Yeah. So it's a thing. You mentioned a 6-year-old. And so your LinkedIn obviously is impressive, right? You work for a great organization now. You've worked for incredible law firms. But the most impressive line was stay-at-home mom. I saw that. I thought that was great. So, I threw
it in there when LinkedIn opened up the possibility to throw that in there. I was like, I'm putting it in. I mean, that's because we spend so much time, those of us who have done any of that are like, oh, we got to kind of obscure the gap in our resume. We got to hide that. We got to fold that into something else. Or people make up stuff. They're like volunteering for a nonprofit. And it's like, no, you weren't, but okay. So, self-employed, blah, and no, I mean, you were doing what you were doing. And so, yes, there was a transition time where I was home with my eldest. And of course, it did absolutely no good. He doesn't remember it anymore. It hasn't made any difference. He's not any better than the other kids, which is what I was going for. So
the plan failed. How many kids do you have?
I have 16. Well, I have 3. They just each.
When you said 16, I was like, wow, big. Okay.
Yes, no, they are. There's 3 of them. They just feel like many, many more than that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I find that even having 3, people are like, how do you have so many children? And it's like, I'm one of 5. So 3 feels like Ooh, we went small, luckily.
I'm one of five as well. Where do you fall in line?
I'm, of course, the eldest, which is,
Cheers, Lenor. Come on.
All right,
Let's
there
do
we
it.
go.
Eldest of five. Long distance cheers. Almond milk. You're on brand too with the ABV. I love that. Yeah. So I wonder what your experience was. Lindsay and I felt, so we were living in Chicago. We had our first daughter. And, we're like, we've got the apartment and the little city stroller, and we're walking to Trader Joe's. And we're like, look at us, the cute young millennial couple, like, playing house. And then we had our second kid, and you double your amount of work. And you're like, oh my gosh, what just hit me? What happened? To be fair, at the time, I also was working full time and getting my MBA at night. And you double your work because of kids. So there was a lot. And then we had our third, and it's just like, whatever. It's just another mouth. It's fine.
I think so. Similar experience. We were up in New York. We were some of the first of our friends, and by first, I mean like first and last, really, some of our friends to ever get married, ever have kids, do all that. There's just a different lifestyle in New York, but
yeah.
So with our first, we were living in the Junior 4 on the Upper East Side. We took him to bars. We took him to restaurants. He was 1 week old, and we took him to brunch because that's why wouldn't he come to brunch? Right.
Yeah. Can't leave him with a dog, right?
I mean, so we didn't really understand that you were supposed to change your lifestyle. So we just didn't. People were bringing their little dogs in their handbags, and we're like, well, the baby can go in the handbag, right?
Yeah.
What's different? But then we moved down here to Raleigh, and we had our second, and then it did feel more like, now we're doing this. Now we're we have a house, we have cars, we had all the accoutrement, this is for real now. There's room to buy a high chair, we could actually do this.
Yeah.
So, and then you're right, with the third, it was she just runs wild. And she's also, we have 2 boys and then a girl. And to be completely sexist, after the 2 boys, it was like, she's so easy.
See, I've got 3 girls. And so my youngest is 2. She just turned 2. She thinks she runs the world. I mean, she's just unbelievable. We don't even have time to get into half those stories, at least not until we stop recording. But yeah, she's a bear. So we're actually expecting our 4th right now. So we'll figure out, if I'm going to be challenged. I've got my sister, incidentally, right? I have 3 girls. My sister has 3 boys. So anytime I need my fix, we just get the cousins together. We're going to do that this weekend. So then I'll probably be glad to be a girl dad again.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, so the thing with boys is, they don't try to last the day. How is this evolutionarily they try to expire each day. In what way can I end myself today?
Oh man,
so,
I love it.
My daughter is much more into self-preservation. She'd like to see tomorrow. So, it makes it a bit easier. And then when there were 2 of them, it was can I off myself and my brother at the same time? Could we, what could we jump off of? What could we break? What could we, so, and we really did not try to raise them we're so modern. We did not try to be you be a boy and act like a boy, and you be a girl and act like a girl. They just ended up doing it. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess that's why farm families used to have 16, because the boys would be flinging themselves in the well randomly, and you had to just, find some more somewhere. So.
Yeah, it wasn't just a lack of vaccines and antibiotics. It was also boys, as you say very eloquently, expire. So that's a thing.
It's, I'm not really sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that might be what, because I'm a zoologist, you always see that's there's 1 lion, but 10 lionesses. Yeah, I think that's it. It's like the other lions shoved each other off the roof or pushed each other into the pool or off the couch or something. And that's the one lion that made it out. So
I would be remiss if I didn't dig in this on the whole you're a zoologist thing. I missed that. So tell me more, because I doubt, I mean, you know, when I hear zoology, like the Indianapolis Zoo here is actually pretty nice. And they do a lot of conservation, and like Harrison Ford actually just won the Indianapolis prize, right? Which is kind of cool. And I think like, oh, wow, like I'm sitting here in an office looking at a screen all day, and 3 miles that way, there's people playing with lions.
Yeah.
So you are a zoologist who decided to look at screens all day.
I just made myself one just now. I'm also, see, the problem is that, I'm a big liar, so that's kind of
This is going to come back to haunt you in a deposition. Like 8 years from now, they're going to be like, Lenor, in September of 2021, you were on EDiscovery After Hours.
And you just declared you were a big liar, and I'll just be like, well, I was lying when I said that.
I was lying. I had at least a third of a glass of almond milk by that point.
Right, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
I'm always, I like to give myself different degrees, and I always say I'm not a doctor in this country, as if that helps.
Yeah, that's true. We'll have to get you an honorary degree. Well, I'll talk to ACEDs about that. All right. So one more thing that I want to pivot to is on your LinkedIn, you say something about writing, winning a legal fiction writing contest. Did I get that correct?
Yes, this was in my misspent youth. Yes.
Okay.
I wrote this short story about basically people getting run over by a subway train. It's actually kind of gross.
Oh, sad.
But it did win. Yeah. They were fake people. I made them up.
That's
so
true.
I created them, and then I ran them over with a train. So
fiction. Yes. Fiction, folks.
Yes. Much like my zoology degree, fiction. So I won, and that was kind of fun because, you know, they printed it up in a little magazine and all that. I felt like very, I don't know if you've read Little Women, but I felt very Jo March in that moment, right? You know, when she's like selling her story and whatever. So
now, do you have the film rights on it? Are you under negotiations to take the screen adaptation? I mean, Netflix is blowing up with original content. This seems very juicy.
True. Yeah, well, I should look into that. No, most of the time now, I feel like I use my creativity on probably on LinkedIn. I'm one of those people like ruining LinkedIn. You know, all those people are like, stop turning this into Facebook. I'm like, here's another highly personal post.
What inspired you to do that and to put yourself out there in that way and to kind of break the fourth wall, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's so many things we don't ever talk about that people should be talking about. There's so many common experiences that unite us, but we're so busy burying everything that we don't connect on those levels, which is a horrible shame because a lot of us feel so alone and like, oh, I'm the only one who went through this. I'm the only one who's experienced this, especially in the legal field where it's like, well, I was the only one that had a tough time doing X or Y. No, like it's a show. Everyone's, you know, puffing themselves up and they're trying to look impressive and professional and all this. But everyone's been through that, like, I wore 2 different shoes to court, you know, kind of moment. And if we just share it and we laugh about it and we can get, you know, and then you don't feel like, oh, I'm the only one who ever cited to the wrong case in a brief or, you know what I mean? All those little things that, you know, especially in the beginning of your career, these little bumps and bruises, I let that privileged document go out the door, you know, whatever it is, you know, disclose it, get over it. You're going to help someone else feel better about some little thing that they did. And then on like bigger issues, there's so much stuff that we don't talk about, but it does impact the workplace and it impacts, you know, just, you know, even things like maternity, things like parenthood, that were so taboo to ever talk about because you had to pretend you weren't also doing it. It was like, for pretend, all I do is work. But, I think it's great that now we can be open about those things and we can talk about them and we can be more of ourselves even when we're working.
Yeah. I think you and maybe to a lesser degree me are on like the leading edge of that. There's still a lot of hesitancy, especially in this industry where, I joked a couple of minutes ago, right? But there is a real fear of, you're trained for 3 years to avoid risk and to mitigate risk and to assess risk. And then anything you do, any blog you write, any, paper you publish, any podcast you're on, that absolutely could come back to you in a deposition years later. And so I love having started this podcast now, giving a platform to more and more folks, whether they're in-house, at the law firm, on the vendor side, et cetera, to be able to, be a full embodied person and not a walking advertisement. This podcast is EDiscovery After Hours, specifically because there's enough of the talking heads talking about, workflows and case law and It's like, listen, all that stuff's good. Like, we present CLEs, like we put out content, like I'm not slamming that. There's just so much of it. And it's like, man, we need an outlet for people to be people. And so my voice just got super high there because I'm so into this point.
Yeah, no. And I think actually the more outlets we have people to be people, as you put it, maybe then we'll see less of the personal stuff in people's work text, work chats, all of that. Because I think the funny thing about doing EDiscovery and document review is how much of people's personal lives you end up reading about and learning about. It's like, it's the most salacious stuff, right? And it's like, but it's their work email. It's like, but you do not know what people put in their work email. And we've always been blending our personal and our professional. And I think it's helpful for us to have some places to go be ourselves. Then maybe actually we can move towards separating things out, like not dealing with our whole personal lives in our work email accounts. As fun as it is to read that stuff, but
what's funny is that, over the course of time, I would say, 10, 12 years ago, emails were tended to be very salacious. And then there was enough ugly case law and things that came out that then people started to get very buttoned up and professional. But then Slack and Teams and all these other things took off. It's like, it's like the disconnect is like, oh, well, people read my email, but I can say whatever I want in Teams. It's like, oh man, like just wait 6 months until that discovery comes out. And then you're going to be kicking yourself there too.
Well, because it really does kind of get a little Wild West over in all the different ways to chat. There is a level of casual that's going to just be very rich for EDiscovery at some point soon, because people are not taking it seriously. And it's all the time. I'm like, Teams is collectible, right? It's searchable, it's collectible, it's still, it's not some magic way of communicating. So I think, but yeah, I don't think we should bring our whole selves to work.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants that. And I don't want 100% of anybody else anyway. But I do think it's great that people are being more authentic at work and about their working experiences. And I think LinkedIn has really saved some people during the pandemic in terms of having social contact and having, people to talk to and commiserate with and share things with. So I'm not sad that it's turned into Facebook, because first of all, I'm not on Facebook. I've seen Facebook. I don't want to be on Facebook. Facebook to me is all that vax, anti-vax, vax, anti-vax. I don't want to be in that. That's not what I want to talk about. I would rather talk more about you know, how to pump at work or something, which people are going to be like, ew, gross. But yeah, so I've ruined LinkedIn by talking about it. But but I don't think LinkedIn is all the way to Facebook yet. At least, fortunately, my feed is not like that yet. It's not just like back and forth, bizarre political fights where people get mean and nasty. I don't want to do that. So if that is what people are afraid LinkedIn's going to become, then, you know, I feel your pain, but I don't think it will. I think it's going to stay about work, at least tangentially.
Yeah, I agree. Lenor, this was awesome. And we went down some places that I didn't have on my little list, which means this was an awesome, authentic conversation. And I'm very glad that you took the time to join my silly little show here.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for indulging me in, you know, drinking almond milk of all things. I do hope you at least got vanilla flavor or something a little more interesting. Okay, good.
Little spice it up a little bit there.
Excellent. Okay, good.